ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापत्कमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सागणरघुनाथान्वितं सतं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चना गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्य ईश्वरं गुर्वे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकाय तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः। Okay, so last time we did Nectar of Instruction introduction. We discussed the preface. We read the preface and we discussed about little bit about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, about his 6 disciples, the 6 Goswamis, and of those 6 Goswamis, the most prominent, the one who has written this book, his name is Srila Rup Goswami. So we discussed about Srila Rup Goswami quite a bit. And we had discussed about the various instructions Mahaprabhu gave to the 6 Goswamis. So since some people were not there, I'm very quickly going to breeze through this. So Mahaprabhu gave these instructions. These are very important verses from Chaitanya Charitamrit. He said, Bhakta Bhakti Krishna Prema Tatvera Nirdhar Vaishnavera Kritya Ara Vaishnava Achar. So you have to establish the basic principles of a devotee. Devotional service, love of Godhead, Vaishnav duties, and Vaishnav characteristics. So you will see that this nectar of instruction that we are reading, Rup Goswami, Srila Rup Goswami will carry out all these instructions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is going to establish the basic principles of a devotee, of the devotional, basic principles of the devotional service, basic principles of the love of Godhead, of Vaishnav duties, and Vaishnav characteristics. And when you go through this whole book, you will see how Rup Goswami very wonderfully, in a very genius way, has incorporated all these aspects into his Nectar of Instruction. Now, Nectar of Instruction, when Rup Goswami wrote, it was called Upadesha Mrita. Upadesh plus Amrit. Upadesha Mrita. Okay. It means it is nectar or Amrit of Upadesh, of instructions. So Prabhupada has literally translated it into nectar of instructions. And in Sanskrit, it was called Upadesha Mrita. And this was written in Sanskrit, but of course, Prabhupada has given us these Hindi purports, English purports and translations, and other languages also, but basically English purports and translations. The verses are in Sanskrit. Then Mahaprabhu also instructed the 6 Goswamis. What did he say? Krishna Bhakti, Krishna Prema, Seva Pravartan, Lupta Tirtha Uddhara, Ara Vairagya Shikshan. He said, you will also have to explain Krishna's devotional service, establish the centers for cultivation of love of Krishna, excavate the lost places of pilgrimage, and teach people how to adopt the renounced order. So he gave these 4 missions he gave to the 6 Goswamis, that you have to explain the tattva or the devotional service to the people in general, the masses. Okay, Krishna's recording in progress. Then he said, you will also establish centers for cultivation of love of Krishna, meaning you will establish temples. You will excavate the lost places of pilgrimage. So Lupta Tirtha Uddhara. So this is Dham. and teach people how to adopt the renounced order. Okay, so the whatever we are going to learn in the initial verses of Nectar of Instruction, the first 4 verses are most important. In Updeshamrita, the first 4 verses are most important for us. Everyone should try to memorize these first 4 verses. They are the key verses. They are the basic principle, the basic siddhant that encompasses the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, knowledge of Bhagavatam, and the essential principles of devotional service and of a devotee. Okay. When you know those principles, then you have access, you have opened the gate to the Rasik pastimes, the Leelas of Krishna. Okay. So this is an intermediate study between Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay. So before you can relish the nectar that is there in Bhagavatam, the rasa, because Krishna is Ras Raj, he's Rasnath, or sometimes he's called Rasik Ranjan, Rasik Shekhar. You know, he's full of rasa, full of mellows. But you have to, in order to taste that rasa, your body, your senses, your achar, your vichar, your mind, everything needs to be purified in order to taste that rasa. Okay. So that is why Rup Goswami is often called the Ras Acharya. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave the instruction to open the doors of rasa for everyone. So he's called Rasa Ashray. So Mahaprabhu is called Rasa Ashray and Rup Goswami is called Rasa Acharya. And this rasa, this nectar is poured into the devotee. And devotee is called Rasa Patra. Okay, he's the container. Devotee is the container. Rasa Patra, who is going to hold all this nectar. But in order for us to become Rasa Patra, our Patra, the container, has to be clean. Only then we can hold this immense ras, or we can become this Rasik Bhakta when our container is clean. So Nectar of Instruction will cleanse that container. Okay. Namita Mataji, you have a question?
Yes, Mataji. Mataji, वो थोड़ा सा फिर से बताएंगे वो रसा महाप्रभु is called the Rasa Acharya.
Rasa
Right?
Ashraya. Ashraya. Mahaprabhu to Bhagwan hai.
Ashraya, okay.
He has given us access to Radha Rani and Krishna's rasas, the Ras Leela, the rasas, the Leelas, right? So he's Rasa Ashray. But who did he empower? He empowered Rup Goswami. So Rup Goswami is the Rasa Acharya. Okay.
Okay.
Devotees are the container who will receive that Leelas of Krishna, that rasa, but the container has to become clean. It has to become strong and potent to receive these Leelas. So Nectar of Instruction is considered like an intermediate study after Bhagavad Gita and before Srimad Bhagavatam, okay, before the next step. So so this is just a very basic understanding. Whatever Mahaprabhu gave instructions he gave to Rup Goswami and other Goswamis, they carried them out perfectly through their literature. And you will see Nectar of Instruction, how Rup Goswami is beautifully carrying out those instructions that Mahaprabhu gave. Okay. What did he say? Establish the basic principles of a devotee, of devotional service, of love of Godhead, Vaishnav duties, and Vaishnav characteristics. Okay. Okay, so this part I will just skip because we already talked about this. These are the 6 Goswamis. Now, this is Sri Rupa Pranam Mantra. I think all of you know this mantra. This is the mantra we recite during our Mangalacharan prayers. We always say, right? Sri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swa Padantikam. When will Srila Rup Goswami Prabhupada, who has established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet? So here, the only main thing to understand is Sri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam. Okay. Rup Goswami is that personality who has perfectly understand the man or the mind of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. जिसने भगवान का मन पढ़ लिया है, वो है रूप गोस्वामी. So तो ये रूप गोस्वामी है. This is Dashashwamedh Ghat in Prayag, where he received the teachings from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay. So this is Rup Goswami at Prayag on Dash Ashwamedh Ghat. And he received continuous teachings for 10 days. 10 days, 10 days, 10 nights, they were continuously talking, just like Shukdev Goswami was talking to Parikshit Maharaj at the banks of Ganges. Similarly, Rup Goswami and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were continuously discussing the important topics. And Rup Goswami got beautiful instructions from Mahaprabhu. And based on those instructions, based on that empowerment Mahaprabhu uh, gave to Rup Goswami, Rup Goswami compiled a lot of literature. One of those books is Nectar of Instruction. And Rup Goswami is somebody who has understood the mind of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Manobhishtam, Bhagwan ka man pad liya hai. So this book is very important for us. I'll keep going. This I don't think we need to know. These are some prayers. This comes in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela. It says, before the creation of this cosmic manifestation, the Lord enlightened the heart of Lord Brahma with the details of creation. So all of you know, right, that Brahmaji received all the instructions about how to create from Krishna, from the Supreme Lord. Similarly, this verse is saying that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu enlightened the heart of Rup Goswami with spiritual potency, and by this potency, Srila Rup Goswami could revive the activities of Krishna in Vrindavan, the activities that were almost lost to the memory. In this way, he was able to spread Krishna consciousness throughout the world. So यहाँ पे ब्रह्मा जी से comparison किया गया है Rup Goswami का. Just like Brahma ji was empowered at the beginning of the creation, he was given this task to make the entire world. Similarly, Rup Goswami was given instructions by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to reveal the Vedic knowledge in simple language to everyone, to establish Krishna's pastime places again, and some other instructions also. So here comparison is with Brahmaji. So just like Brahmaji, we consider is the Adi Kavi, is the original philosopher who directly received the knowledge from Creator. Similarly, Rup Goswami is the original founder of Krishna consciousness movement. He's the original teacher who spread the Krishna consciousness movement. And this verse describes his beautiful body, how he's personification of love. He gives compassion to everyone, and he follows in the footsteps of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he says his Swaroop is very beautiful body, very beautiful intellect, and very beautiful character, and beautiful qualities. He gives compassion to everyone. He's personification of love. And most importantly, he does the work assigned to him by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Nectar of Instruction, this book will take you through these three main topics. Okay, please look at the screen. These three topics. First is, what are the things unfavorable for bhakti? Okay. Then it will take you through things that are favorable for bhakti. And ultimately, it will take you to Vraj, to Radharani, the holiest spot in the entire creation, the Vrindavan or Vraj Bhumi, where the topmost place is Giriraj Govardhan. In that topmost place of Giriraj Govardhan, the most condensed nectar of Radharani's love is found in the Radha Kund. So it will take you to Srimati Radharani. So in this way, the Nectar of Instruction will take you through the unfavorable things, favorable things, and to Radharani ultimately. But to receive Radharani, to receive the water of Radha Kund in our patra, in our pot has to be very clean, very refined. It has to be very strong and potent. So that is our training. That is our training. And then these are the 9 stages of devotional service. Okay. Some of you may be familiar. You are all familiar with 9 limbs of devotional service, 9 or Navda Bhakti. Everybody's familiar here with the Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atmanevednam, right? Everyone knows those. I think we have discussed them enough and more times. Those are 9 limbs of devotional service. This is 9 stages of devotional service. This is different, okay? 9 stages means how a bhakta, a devotee, progresses from Shraddha, the very first stage of faith. Adav Shraddha. Adav means the first step is Shraddha. First, somebody has to have Shraddha. So when you're preaching, you will often come across people that do not have faith, like atheistic people or agnostic people do not have faith. Some of those people can be transformed, can be brought to devotional service. Some people are very against, they do not have any faith at all. They were very difficult to bring to the path of devotional service. Generally, devotees do not waste time on those people. We don't need to be butting heads with atheistic people. So the first step is Shraddha. So somebody has to have a little bit of Shraddha to begin. Then he begins Sadhu Sangha, then he will do Bhajan Kriya, then he will go to the path of Nivritti, meaning Anarth Nivritti, meaning his anarthas will start going away. Anartha. So most of us are in these first 4 stages, and there is no clear-cut demarcation. A lot of people are going through all the 4 stages simultaneously, but we are in these 4 stages. Very rarely somebody will say that I'm in the stage of Nishtha, Ruchi, or Asakti. Nishtha means he's very with determination, he's fixed on this path. Ruchi means now he has attraction for this. Asakti means he has developed like strong attachment to this path. He cannot be without it. Asakti ho gayi hai, attachment ho gayi bahut strong. Bhava and Prem are the, Bhava is the penultimate stage and Prema, Krishna Prema is the ultimate stage. Okay. Now, the verses of Nectar of Instruction go through these 9 stages of devotional service. They will take you from Shraddha to Prema. The first 3 verses will be in Shraddha. Okay, first 3 verses. Verses 4 and 5 and 6, 4, 5 and 6 are talking about Sadhu Sangha, how to deal with different people. जैसे हम different devotees से मिलते हैं, what should be our conduct towards them, what should be our acharan towards them, how should we deal with them, how should we pay obeisances. Various things are described in verses 4, 5 and 6. Okay. Verse 7 encompasses few steps: Bhajan Kriya, Anarth Nivritti and Nishtha. Okay. Then verse 8 talks about Ruchi and Asakti. Verse 9, 10 and 11 are about Bhava and Prema. Okay, they will take you to Radharani. These 9, 10 and 11 talk about on very high stages, Bhava and Prema. So this is just a very quick breakdown of Nectar of Instruction. This is Rup Goswami. We also talked about in preface that your attitude depends. Attitude decides how much advancement you make on this path. Some people have attitude to complain. Some people have attitude of gratitude. Some people have attitude of forgiveness. Some people have attitude of patience, attitude of discipline. So if you have those nice attitude, then you will make strong progress on this path. This was just a brief summary again. Now I'm going to show you something very, very amazing. So just a little bit more about Rup Goswami that will blow your mind. I cannot even describe how much it will blow your mind. Like, hold your seats, because this has never been heard of before, never been seen before. It is difficult to comprehend. Let's see this, because this is so amazing that it's difficult to describe. Who here has heard of a book called Chitra Kavitvani? Chitra Kavitvani. Has anybody heard of this book? Nagarchand Prabhu, Namita Mataji. Anyone has heard of this book called Chitra? Okay. Chitra Kavitvani. So think about whose words we are reading. Okay. Rup Goswami has compiled a book called Chitra Kavitvani. Okay. That book only has 12 verses. Just like this Nectar of Instruction has only 11 verses, that book has only 12 verses. Okay. Now that book, if I showed you even the content, the preface, you will be like, what is this? I don't have the preface. But the first verse, this is the first verse of Chitra Kavitvani. Can you notice something very peculiar about this first verse? Just look at the Sanskrit. The entire verse is describing how Krishna is a Rasik, Rasraj, that we were talking about, Rasa, right? Rasa. And it is only in Ra and Sa. The whole verse is in only 2 consonants, Ra and Sa. Rasasara susarorur asura sare sasarasa samsara sir asaura se suri ram susasarasa. This is the verse. So his genius, he says, and this whole, not only this is so poetical, the whole book is like this, okay? Not like this. I'll show you what the whole book is like. It'll blow your mind. In the whole book, there are poems like this, there are verses, beautiful poetry like this, which is not only in perfect meter, perfect meaning, perfect lyrics, but also very deeply meaningful. Like this verse says, filled with transcendental amorous desire, Nanda's son, who showers nectar, whose thighs are strong, who is the demon's enemy, and who is the sword that cuts down the cycle of repeated birth and death, entered the rasa dance holding a lotus flower. Think about this. What a beautiful verse that is describing Krishna as somebody who showers nectar, thighs are strong, who is the demon's enemy, who carries the sword which cuts down the cycle of birth and death. That Krishna entered the rasa dance holding a lotus flower. Where do you see all this written in the Ra and Sa? So this is the genius. So we are not dealing with like when we saying Rup Goswami is our preeminent acharya, is a founder of Krishna consciousness movement. We are talking about an amazing, not only a beautiful person, a compassionate, merciful person. We're talking about somebody who has such a deep grasp on the philosophy, on the rasa, and who can convey it in such an amazing algorithm of, by just using these two consonants, ra and sa. Now look at the next one, okay, verse 2. Verse 2, again, he does the same thing. The verse is only in two consonants. Which consonants are there?
Ch and Ra.
Ch and Ra. He says, Char choru rochir uchora ruchiroram charachare chora charo chirachiram rucha charur achuchurat. It's even difficult to even pronounce or read this, right? And to think that in English language, all we say is, what do we say? She sells seashells on the seashore, and the seashells that she sells on the seashore are not the seashells that she sells on the seashore. This is the tongue twister we got in English language. And here our acharyas are playing tongue twisters with not only just two consonants, plus giving deeply meaningful knowledge about our Supreme Lord. Not only philosophical knowledge, rasic knowledge. Acting like a thief. This verse is describing the chor aspect, like we did the Chaurashtikam, right? Acting like a thief, the broad-chested son of Nanda, the most handsome person, who quickly stole the gopis' garments. He was attractive because of his splendor, and his beauty was enhanced by the sandal paste adorning him. So beauty of Krishna and how he's stealing the gopis' garment, and so attractive because of his beauty, and with the sandal paste adorning him, is described here. Okay, this was verse 2. These are the verses like this. Now look at this verse. Look at this verse. In this verse, what is the characteristic? पिछले में तो दो consonants थे, इसमें क्या है?
Only one. N.
Only one consonant, different vowels.
Only one consonant. Huh? So this, and you know what this verse is describing? This verse is about Brahmaji. Okay, this verse is about Brahmaji. I cannot even read this. Ninu na no na nam nam na nu no na namo nu ni na ne na nam ni nu ne nam na nun na 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 no na no. So this is saying, did not the many-headed Lord Brahma, who impels the various demigods, offer prayers with tears streaming down his face, trying to pacify Lord Krishna, the killer of Shaktasura? So this is describing how Brahmaji offered prayers to Krishna, who is the killer of Shaktasura. And then this gets more complicated. Like as you go forward in the book, okay, it gets more complicated. Like there is a verse in which the second line is the reverse of the first line. Second line is the reverse of the first line. Then there is a verse which when you read forward, it's Krishna's pastimes. When you read backwards, it's Lord Ram's pastimes. Then this verse, look at the one in the box. This verse reads the same. This is like a Sudoku puzzle, like my dad plays Sudoku puzzles. this verse is like reads the same backwards and forwards as well as upwards and downwards. इस direction में पढ़ो या ऐसे पढ़ो या ऐसे पढ़ो, it's the same. So you know there is a name Sarvato Bhadra. This verse is called Sarvato Bhadra because it is good on every side. So amazing, like poetry, meter, rhyming, meaning, so beautiful. And then there are verses which are in a wheel form. I don't have those. One is in the form of a cow's urine. Cow's urine, it's again a whole different philosophy to understand. The cows, it is said that when you see a cow urinating, it's very auspicious. So the verse is in the form of cow's urine, how it's flowing, how it's falling. There is one in the form of a horn or something, one in the form of a wheel. So the spokes of the wheel all converge towards one consonant, like that. So this Rup Goswami has given you this 11 verses, Nectar of Instruction, whose book we are reading, how much we should be, you know, thankful that, you know, whose sampradaya we come in. This is our sampradaya, this is our legacy, this is the glory. So let's get started to our started on our verse for today. Let's recite it and then we'll have some devotees discussing it today. So the verse for today is first verse. Vacho vegam manasa krodha vegam.
Vacho
Vacho
vegam
vegam mansa krodha vegam.
Jiva vegam udarupastha vegam. Jiva
Jiva
vegam
vegam udarupastha vegam.
Etan vegan yo vishahe dhira.
Etan vegan yuvishira.
Sarvamapi mam prithvim sashishayat.
Sarvam apimam prithivim sasishyat.
Okay, so basically we are going to learn how to speak, what to think, what to eat, how to control our anger, how much to eat, and how to control the genitals. So this, you know, in Bhagavad Gita also, Arjuna had asked Krishna, he said, what are the symptoms of a sthit pragya? He said, sthit pragyasya ka bhasha, or a sober person. What is their consciousness? How does he speak? What is his language? How does he sit? How does he walk? What is his conduct? So through these first few verses of Nectar of Instruction, we are going to understand how a sthit pragya, sober person, conducts himself. Before we launch into, please, who is it Ravi Prabhu discussing Vacho Vegam?
Yes, Mataji, that's what I was assigned.
Okay.
Hare
Would you, Prabhuji, I was thinking, yeah, please, whoever is prepared will go today, but we may not be able to complete today, so we will carry on to the next time, but you are ready for today, right?
When ready means I do not have any visual presentation,
That's okay.
but yeah,
I know
the
Navya wants to go today. You will go today. Unless whoever needs more time, we can also do next time. We don't have to go in order because there are 6 things we have to talk about. So we can do at least 3 or 4 today. Whoever needs more time. I think Krodha Vegam, nobody is prepared. We can wait for that next time. I know Nagarjan Prabhu and Navya and Ravi Prabhu seem ready. Sheetal Mataji, would you also like to go today?
Yes, Mataji, I can go or I can go next time. Either way is good.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's see. So those 6 urges, okay, they are divided into 3 broad categories. Okay. Body, mind, and words. BMW. Everybody knows, right? BMW, body, mind, words. So Vacho Vegam is speech. Okay. Then the next one is Manasa and Krodha Vegam. Manasa and Krodha, both of them come in the urge of mind. Okay, urges of mind. Both come in the urge of mind. The last 3, Jiva, Udar, and Upasth. Jiva means tongue, Udar means stomach, and Upasth means genitalia. Those 3 come in the bodily urges. So body, mind, and words. So the last 3 are body, which is most gross, like Jiva, stomach, tongue, stomach, and genitalia. They are most gross. They are bodily urges. Mind and anger, both are mental urges. And vacho vegam is speech, urge to speak. And I did not put up the translations. We have to read translation. And then I'll request Ravi Prabhu to get started. Prabhuji, please read the translation and you can.
Yes, Mataji, we can read the translation. Do you suggest reading the purport also?
Prabhuji, let's go with what you have to share. Purport, Prabhupada has given a little bit of, we can do that next time.
Sure, Mataji. Means my preparation is only like
Would
I
you like
don't know
to go
anything.
next time,
Yeah, but
Prabhuji?
yeah.
If-
No, what you said, Mataji?
Would you like to go do next time?
Yeah, that will be fine. But what I'm saying is the purport only has the information, and I was listening to few acharyas. They also, like, so I was like thinking like when I have to speak about the urge to speak, there won't be any new information. I mean, I can only say few things, but most of them is coming from the purport and the explanation of the other senior acharya who have
That's how
talked
it is
about this.
always, Prabhuji. I mean, we don't
Yeah.
speak of our own ever. Like I
Yeah.
don't speak of my, but it's basically putting everything together that you have heard. It's always like that only. But the point is to verbalize from you. So why don't you do this, Prabhuji? Let's just read the translation. Let's go with the Sheetal Mataji's today. Just write some notes, like whatever you've heard, just to kind of put it together like a presentation to speak in 5-10 minutes. You don't need any visual aid, but just to speak on the topic. You can say, I heard from Gaurang Darshan Prabhu that this is what we have to say. I heard from Swayam Bhagwan Maharaj.
Sure, I got, yeah.
Okay. You know what I'm saying?
Understood, Mataji, yeah.
But do read the translation, Prabhu.
Okay. A sober person, Hare Krishna, all the devotees. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals, is qualified to make disciples all over the world.
Very bold. So those who are not familiar with this verse, please try to memorize. It's very simple to memorize. Vacho vegam. Vegam word will keep coming. Vega means a very uncontrollable urge, a demand, an imposition, like imposition by senses or mind that do this. They're forcing you to do something, a forceful urge, very strong demand. It's called vague. So vacho vegam is the urge to speak. Manasa vegam is the urges of mind, like excessive thoughts and desires and emotions, etc. Krodha vegam is the urge of anger. Jiva vegam is urge of tongue. Udar, as you know, damodar, udar means stomach. Udar means urge of belly, how much to eat, quantity of food. Upastha vegam, upastha is genitals or genitalia. So sex urges. Etan vegan yo vishahet dhira. These vegas, etan vegan means these vegas, these urges. Whichever person can control is a sober person. Who can tolerate this is a sober person. And that person, sarvam apimam prithvim sashishaya, that person can rightfully make disciples all over the world. He's qualified. It is his right. He's qualified to make disciples all over the world. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started with Sheetal Mataji. Mataji, do you want to share screen or is?
Mataji, I don't have any slides.
Sure.
So is it Ravi Prabhu starting? I don't know. I got confused.
Ravi Prabhu said he will go next time.
Okay.
Okay, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam to all the devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. I will be discussing on the mind. So the mind is one of the components of the subtle body, as we know. And senses are the instruments for any actions through which the mind functions. So Lord Krishna says that he is the mind amongst all senses in 10.22. And mind is the center of all the sense activities and reservoir of all ideas for sense gratification. And in terms of hierarchy, intelligence is higher than mind, which is higher than the senses. And what is the nature of this mind? Mind is very powerful, restless, turbulent, obstinate, strong. That is what in one of our favorite verses, 6.34, Arjuna says, Chanchala hi mana Krishna. So he's describing the mind as very powerful, restless, turbulent, and strong. And contemplating on the sense objects, when we are thinking too much on the sense objects within the mind, that is when the process of fall down begins. So why is it necessary to control the mind? Because controlled mind can be, the best friend, and uncontrolled mind is the worst enemy. And without mind control, there is no chance of self-realization. So all this is coming from the Bhagavad Gita, and I'm not quoting anything. So this is all about the mind, and it's so many topics are there actually on the mind. So without mind, there is no chance of self-realizations. And one very important thing that we have learned over the time is that when one thinks at time of the death is what is one going to attain in the next life. That's why it's very important for the mind to be involved in Krishna conscious activities. And if our senses are uncontrolled, then can be chances of fall down. So even when there is regulated sense enjoyment, there is chances of fall down. And contact of the senses with the sense objects, like when there is too much sensory enjoyment, that is a source of misery, and it's only temporary happiness that one can get. So in terms of mind, the Supreme Personality of Godhead has said in Bhagavad Gita, O Partha, when a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, this is in Bhagavad Gita 2.55, which arise from mental concoction, and when his mind is thus purified, he finds satisfaction in the self alone. And then he is said to be in pure transcendental Krishna consciousness. So in terms of the innumerable desires and the plans that are fabricated in the mind, so there are certain things like lust, anger, greed, illusion, intoxication, envy, etc., that arise in the mind, and the mind kind of dwells on this sense objects, and it seems to get attracted. So Srila Rupa Goswami says the mind's agitations, like he categorizes them in two types. So one is the avriddha priti, that is unrestricted attachment. And the other one is virod yukta krodha, or that is anger and frustration. So some of the mind's attachment and restlessness are seen in Gyanis, which are, adherent to the Mayavadi philosophy, karmis who are believing in the fruitive results, and materialists who believe in the plans based on their material desires. So sometimes, the approach to negate all the material thoughts and create the mind as a vacuum is very artificial, and it does not work. So how it is important to control the mind, that we understand, but how does one control the mind? So mind control is possible only by thinking of Krishna and his service. So Prabhupada explains that if Krishna is the sun, he's present in the mind, there is no possibility of the minds being agitated by the influence of Maya, that is darkness. And when one meditates on Krishna pastimes, it is not like any mental agitation, rather it is means by which all the agitation they quiet down or they become pacified. So when mind is controlled, that is when it is devoid of thirst for material enjoyment, automatically the urges of the eyes, ears, and other senses become pacified. So the Bhagavatam affirms that any person who is in fully Krishna consciousness or devotional service of the Lord has all the good qualities of the great sages, whereas a person who is not so transcendently situated has no good qualification because he is sure to be taking refuge in his own mental concoctions. So consequently, one has to give up all kinds of sense desire manufactured by mental concoction. So artificially, such sense desires cannot be stopped. And again, this is just to reinforce that if one is engaged in Krishna consciousness, then automatically sense desire subsides without any extra efforts. Therefore, one should find, whatever one takes pleasure in terms of providing service to Krishna consciousness. There are so many activities in Krishna consciousness. So that is the beauty of the devotional service. So there is sadhana, there is scriptures, there is chanting, there is prasadam making. So there are lectures, so many kirtans. So one can always, try to attach the mind into Krishna conscious activities, so that the highly developed soul always remains satisfied in himself by realizing that he is the eternal servitor of the Lord. And there is one beautiful verse, what Mataji had said, that BMW, body, mind, and words, in Bhagavad Gita 17.60, on mind, it says, Manah prasada saumyatvam mauna matma vinigraha bhava samshuddhir iti etat tapo manasam uchyate. And satisfaction, translation is, and satisfaction, simplicity, gravity, self-control, and purification of one's existence are the austerities of mind. So to make the mind austere is to detach it from sense gratification. It should be so trained that it can always be thinking of doing good for others. And the best training for the mind is gravity in thought. One should not deviate from Krishna consciousness and must always avoid sense gratification. So in the purport, Prabhupada has given this quote from Chaitanya Charitamrita. He says, the restlessness or fickleness of the mind, that is manovega, is controlled when one can fix his mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. And it's the same, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 22.31 says, Krishna Surya Sama Maya Haya Andhikara, Jaha Krishna Taha Nahi Mayara Adhikara. So Krishna is just like the sun and Maya is just like darkness. If the sun is present, there is no question of darkness. Similarly, if Krishna is present in the mind, there is no possibility of the minds being agitated by Maya's influence. And again, Prabhupada emphasizes that the yogic process of negating all the material thoughts, as I said earlier, will not help. And it will just, you try to create the vacuum in the mind by negating all the thoughts. It's very artificial process. That vacuum will not remain. However, if one always thinks of Krishna and how to serve Krishna's best, one's mind will be naturally controlled. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. It was beautiful. Wonderful. Yes.
Thank you.
You touched on all the main points. I think we'll keep going. I will not try to summarize, but I'll just say two, 3 points that I really loved was this fact about not trying to artificially negate the thoughts, because that will not work. So we always have this principle: minus, 0, plus. Minus means bad thoughts, 0 means just trying to negate any thoughts. Plus means positive thoughts. So positive thoughts will automatically remove any bad thoughts. And so positive means Krishna conscious thoughts. एक disciple थे प्रभुपाद के, he said, I had no time to think because I was busy in so much service. I had always so much service to do, so much to do all the time that there was no time to think. So sometimes इसलिए बोलते हैं ना खाली दिमाग शैतान का करके, माइंड को इतना कृष्णा कॉन्शियस सेवाओं से, लिटरेचर से, वर्सेस से, भजन से, एक्टिविटीज से भर दो कि माइंड में कुछ नेगेटिव के लिए जगह नहीं रहे. That is the best way to control the mind that you said. And I also like the point you briefly touched about Virodh Preeti and Virodh Yukt Krodh. We can talk about that in Krodha part also. So we'll keep moving. Okay, so I think Navya is next. Navya is talking about Jiva Vegam, the control of tongue. Okay, Navya, unmute yourself and go ahead.
Okay. I have a presentation.
Okay, you want to?
Yeah. Sorry.
I'll make you co-host. Go ahead and share.
No, I can share like this. It lets me.
Okay.
Can you see?
Yes.
Okay. Can you see this? The white box or no?
No.
Okay. So I'm discussing on Jiva Vegam with so it's very important to know what we should eat because what goes in comes out always. So we all know about how there are three modes of nature, but we can categorize the food in a similar way. Mode of goodness would have like milk, rice, wheat, fruit, and vegetables, and they help you they make you feel better than if you have something in passion or ignorance. Because when you eat food that is too rich, dry, bitter, sour, or spicy, then that stimulates passion and action and excitement. And foods in the mode of ignorance are stale, unclean, and decomposed, and they would be in mode of ignorance. Meat would be like an example of that. Onion and garlic are also in the lower modes, and we try to avoid them because they can make us lazy, and sometimes harm our meditation. We also shouldn't eat meat because we say that some animals are carnivorous, but we have a human body, so we need different types of food than they do. And animals also have souls, so we should not discriminate based on their body. As humans, we have a higher consciousness, so we should try to also protect them instead of just using them for our own enjoyment. Eggs are also a form of meat, but just a bit more subtle. We should always eat food that is offered to Krishna first. So I found two verses that would show a good example of this. One is Bhagavad Gita 3.13. Yagishishtasanasanto muchante sarvakilvishe punchte te tvagam papa ye pajanti atmakaranat. In this verse, it says that basically if we eat food that is not offered to the Lord, it is considered that we are eating only sin. And another one is Patram Pushpam Plam Toyam Yome Bhakta Prachati Tadaham Bhakti Uparatham Ashnami Pratatmana. So this means as long as we offer prasad, with love and devotion, and we don't give him something that is not favorable, like meat or eggs or fish, he will accept it no matter how simple it is, because it's always the thought that counts. There are 6 kinds of tastes, but we should never excessively eat any of them, because when we eat meat, our bodies become like a graveyard. We should always eat prasad. So basically we should just always eat prasad, not eat meat, and try to eat everything in the mode of goodness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Navya. I'll open a couple of verses in this regard from chapter 17 also that talk about this. So Krishna says there are 4 verses in chapter 17. The food is of 3 kinds also in the 3 modes of material nature. In mode of goodness is the one that increases the duration of life, purifies one's existence, gives strength, health, happiness, and satisfaction. Such foods are juicy, fatty, wholesome, and pleasing to the heart. So like Navya said, vegetarian food, milk products, grains, all these things, they're wholesome, they're healthy for us, they give us nourishment, happiness, satisfaction, they're in mode of goodness. Too bitter, too sour, too salty, hot, pungent, spicy, dry, burning, those are in mode of passion. They bring distress, misery, and disease. Foods prepared more than 3 hours before eaten, tasteless, decomposed, putrid, remnants, untouchable, they are in mode of darkness. So this is from Bhagavad Gita. So 3 types of foods in 3 modes. Thank you, Navya. Beautiful presentation. You covered all the points. The bottom line is to eat prasadam as much as possible. And then now we will talk about Udar Vegam, how much to eat. So she talked about the quality of food. Jiva Vegam was what to eat. So I think most of you, I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I think most of you are already practicing this about the quantity of food. Sorry, the quality of food. Also outside food prepared by people in improper consciousness, like in restaurants when we go, hard to know what consciousness they prepared the food in. Some people could be very lusty, angry type of people that are making food, and you are basically absorbing their consciousness when you eat the food made by them. So we try to minimize it, try to, if you have to eat, then you say some prayers to the Lord, and still keep your sadhana strong so that you are not getting that type of consciousness, acquiring that type of consciousness. So I think all of us are practicing this and eating prasadam as much as possible. I was talking, I think, somebody yesterday that there is no reason to not eat, prasadam. We sometimes we have this limitations that we put on ourselves for this and this reason. I'm not offering bhoga, but it's always better to offer bhoga and eat that prasadam than to not eat prasadam. There is a beautiful pastime of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya used to follow the rituals and principles very, very strongly. He was very strict in the rituals that he will not accept prasadam until he will not eat prasadam, but he has to have taken a bath or something like that. So once he heard from Mahaprabhu, when Mahaprabhu gave him teachings and he accepted Mahaprabhu as his disciple, his heart was transformed. And the next day, when somebody appeared on his door with prasadam, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had not taken a bath, had not showered yet. He quickly accepted the prasadam. And Mahaprabhu saw this and Mahaprabhu embraced him and said, now you have learnt everything. So that pastime tells you the Mahaprabhu's mood, that to eat prasadam is more important. Your bodily impurity cannot contaminate the prasadam. So it's not like you have not taken a shower or something that you forego prasadam. There is not enough time in our life. Not everybody gets the opportunity to eat prasadam. प्रसादम खाने को मिल रहा है, ये एक बहुत बड़ी बात है, तो उसके लिए कोई लिमिटेशन नहीं लगानी चाहिए. All right, let's go to the next one. Udar Begum. I think it's my mom. Is she ready? Mom, are you ready?
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Will you turn on your camera?
Camera. Start video.
Yes. There you go. Yes.
Yeah, most of the part has Navya covered. Whatever I had to cover, she has already spoken on that. So I don't think I have much to speak. Only thing I have to speak is that we should not overeat. We should control our feeding, because if we overeat, the main drawback is that it leads to obesity. And most of the food keep lying in our stomach, and if food is lying in the stomach, that also goes stale. Food in the stomach also goes stale. We should take 70 to 80% of our food requirement of our hunger. You can say hunger. That is why they say if we should eat prasadam, if we take the food as a prasad, whenever we go to temple and we get prasad, if we take a little bit less amount, we are happy. So that food, whatever we take, that get digested. If we take more food, it causes so many diseases, so many problems like gastritis, flatulence, and that's not good for our health. Health-wise also, we should take less amount of this thing, and if we take more of the food, we feel fatigue all the time, because the food has to keep our digesting. So in our previous, ancestors, our ancestors used to teach us to kam bolna, kam khana, less eat and less speak. We should take a regulated amount of food, and every person should have the quota of the food that you can take. And we should take the food, as Jay said, we have 3 kinds of food. We take food for strength, to keep ourselves healthy, to keep ourselves happy. We should prepare fresh food and take fresh food. That is again an important point. As rightly said, that if food is prepared 3 hours before eating, that food goes stale, and then its digestion becomes poor. This is only yes, there comes the role of fasting. Prabhupada has said that we should do fasting. Therefore, fasting also helps to keep our stomach healthy and to keep our food digested. And this is the only thing I have to say. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. Thank you. So we're talking about how much to eat. Udar Begum. So basically we're talking about overeating.
Yes.
So, actually, in Christianity, gluttony is considered a very important sin. How we say one of the anarthas, they considered gluttony as one of the biggest sins. So, sara time khate rehna, khachar, sara time muh chalte rehna, that's overeating, that's gluttony. And so basically the amount of food that you consume, like my mom was saying, it should be about 70 to 80% of your stomach's capacity. Pehle bolte the na pura pet bhar ke khao. So that's not the dictum anymore. You don't have to really fill up your stomach. There should be some space for ether. Ether is one of the elements that you actually need to digest the food. Air and ether are 2 elements that you need to digest the food. You need all the elements. So fire is there is digestive fire in the stomach. Krishna says that I am the digestive fire. So there is fire, there is water and solid stuff in the food. But also, other than fire, air, water, you need space for the fire to light up. You need air for it to light up. So you need some capacity. If you completely fill it up, that's when problems happen. So like she was talking about obesity, and so many problems that we have identified are caused by GI tract, actually, or gastrointestinal tract. Most of the problems, most of the diseases nowadays, we know their origin is in the gastrointestinal tract only. So based on what you eat, actually, so many cancers are caused by that. How much you eat, that's causing so many cancers. So physical problems are there, right? Bodily problems, obesity and cancers and so many medical problems. Mental problem, because if you are eating too much, then body is spending so much energy, so much resources in digesting that food that the brain becomes sluggish. So for sadhana, for your spiritual practices, when you need to wake up early, you need to focus on the names. It's not possible if the night before you had too much to eat. तो अगर पहले का डिनर बहुत ज्यादा खाया होगा तो अगले दिन सुबह फोकस नहीं हो पाएगा, उठा भी नहीं जाएगा. So it will be difficult to wake up on time. So you're mentally you become sluggish, you become slow, it's hard to focus, and you need in spiritual practices, you need the focus, you need the mental strength. So spiritually you are harmed, mentally slow, and so that's why we had these days of fasting. Almost saying
Sorry, I forgot to speak about intermittent fasting. Sorry.
yeah.
Can I interrupt you? Can I interrupt
Yes,
you?
yes, go ahead.
Intermittent fasting is the fashion these days, but it is useful. It is useful because we get enough of the time to digest our food, and we feel like having more food after that time. Body has a lot of reserves in our body. Body has a lot of reserves of the carbs, of the fats, that if you don't eat for 6 hours, 10 hours, 8 hours, you are not going to get depletion of the carbohydrates and all these things. So we should take at regular times, and we should take the balanced one. And this intermittent fasting not only helps in the weight loss, this is good for the spirituality of the food also, spiritual, so that you can concentrate more on the spiritual path. Otherwise, you feel lazy all the time. You don't feel like getting up, working. So that also helps you less. Sorry, now you continue.
Yes, that's what I was saying. So fasting, Prabhupada has already recommended, our scriptures have mentioned about the importance of fasting, giving your stomach a break. Give it a break, give it a rest. So it needs to rest, it needs to take some time, and even daily, on a daily basis. So intermittent fasting is something you're practicing on a daily basis. Your body needs time to digest that food. इसलिए जब तक भूख ना लगे तब तक खाना नहीं चाहिए. So do not eat until you are hungry or drink until you are thirsty. So Ayurveda mein this principle is called Langanam Parama Aushadham. Abstaining from eating is the best medicine. So बहुत सारी जो problems हैं, they're actually coming from overeating. It's not from the lack of food. पहले होता था कि खाने को नहीं मिल रहा, उसकी वजह से लोगों को malnourishment हो रही है, marasmus, बहुत सारी problems होती थी. But now the kwashiorkor, all those diseases we used to read about from malnourishment. Now people are suffering from overeating. It's gone the other way. And not to mention the most important principle of Ishavasyam is being broken because you have a certain allotted quota. And if you're exceeding that quota, you're imposing on the mother nature, you're exploiting mother nature for her resources. Then all that time is spent in cooking, or you will buy the food, so you're wasting money, wasting the resources ultimately because you're overeating. And I was telling my mom the story yesterday. Like one of my patients, this just happened last week. She came to me and she had this very extensive dental surgery done. So that all the teeth had to be removed and she had to have very extensive implants done. So much surgery that for almost a whole year, she had to be just on water, like liquid diet, not water, but liquid diet. Just very soft food, very bilkul soft, aise dalia, oatmeal, smoothies. That's what she was living on for a whole year. And she told me that, doctor, I used to love eating. I used to enjoy eating so much. And now after a whole year of this bland diet and this soft and smooth food and smoothies and liquid diet, all my taste for food has gone. So, one way or the other, you will have to pay it off because you consumed extra quota that was not meant for you, So some way or the other, you will have to pay it off. So sometimes you pay it in installments, somebody gets some kind of disease, then you had all those things you used to enjoy in the past, you have to now abstain from. If somebody develops gastritis or they cannot eat spicy food anymore. So all those things that you enjoyed, you will have to pay the price. All those things that you enjoyed excessively, which were beyond your quota, you consumed, even though you had no right to consume or exploit those things, you will have to pay it up at some point. And then sometimes the punishment is so harsh that it's for a whole year you had to abstain when you were, overeating every day of your life for last 30 years, 40 years, and now you had to abstain for a whole year. So suddenly all that attachment is cut off. So ये सब जो आदतें हम पालते हैं extra, we need to be really mindful and really need to regulate our lifestyle. So, okay, I think that point everybody understands. So not to overeat. Even prasad also, this is another point. Even prasad also one should not overeat. It's not कि prasad है तो उसको overeat करना है. Only Jagannath ji can eat chappan bhoga multiple times a day. We cannot. We have a very limited body. We don't have transcendental body. Krishna has transcendental body. So he can eat butter all the time. He can eat ghee all the time. But if we eat butter and ghee all the time, we will get problems. So we don't have transcendental body. Understand the limitations of our body. It is a material body which gets diseased and goes into trouble. So it's our responsibility to take care of it. And one of those ways is to decide how much to eat, what to eat, control, regulate. Yukta har viharasya, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Control your ahar. Okay, in next verse also we'll talk about atyahar. So this concept will keep going on in the next verse also about atyahar. Atyahar means excessive eating. Ati ahar, atyahar. So this concept will go on. Let's go to the next topic. Do we have time? Is it okay to do one more? Then we will be left with very important ones. Vachu and Krodha, very, very important. I'm not paying too much attention to the last three. Because the first three are more on subtle level, the speech, anger, and mind. So I'm going to pay more attention to those next time. So this time I just wanted to quickly cover the bodily urges. I think these three are easier to overcome and easier. We have some handle, some grasp on these. So is it okay?
Are we covering now the other one, the genitals, the
Can we do
upastha?
that? It's a quick one, I think. Nagarjan
Sure,
Prabhu.
Mataji.
make
Yeah,
it.
we can get it done. Yeah.
Okay.
Mataji, I'll have to leave. I'll watch the recording.
Sure, no
Thank you
problem.
very much for the wonderful
No.
class.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Danupnam to all devotees, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. So, the topic that I'm going to cover is about upastha vegan. So, it is a little controversial topic. People usually avoid talking much about it. But actually, in our scriptures, it has become more of a taboo topic more recently. And the reason being is because it is it is actually because our culture has glamorized sex so much that it actually devalues it. So what do I mean by that? Nowadays we see, like in advertisements, in any and everything, subtly, even in it's difficult to believe, but even in cartoons, in animated movies, you will see it's mentioned. You will get if you look into this topic, you will see how subtly they try to bring in the concept of sexual desires, and these things are subtly mentioned in it. Even for the kids rated things, still it is so subtly mentioned that is actually becomes more of a taboo thing than it really is. Okay, so what do our principles talk about? What does ISKCON talk about this? What does Prabhupada say about this? What does our scriptures say about it? So we have to regulate, just like all other senses, and these 6 Vegas we are talking about. Genitals is one of the urges that we have to regulate. And I don't remember if Nārangi also already discussed this or not, but this is the basic level at which we are starting to become human. This is actually not even talking about devotees. These 6 urges, to control them is the basic needs for the human society to be a constructive part of this human society. We have to be able to control these 6 urges, all these 6 urges, be it speaking, be it eating, be it our conduct in terms of genitals. And so all these have to be regulated just to come to the level of a human being. We are not even talking about the higher principles of becoming a devotee or anything. So that's why in our 4 regulative principles, it is one of the regulative principles is no illicit sex. Okay, so like animals, we know that when I'm saying that to become a basic level of human being, that is the difference between humans and animals, right? If we are, for animals, we see they have these 4, they also eat, sleep, mate, and defend. Those are natural tendencies even for animals. Even a dog or cat or any animal you see, they do these 4 things. They will find something to eat, they will be sleeping at some time, they will be mating to procreate, and they will be defending themselves and their loved ones. So to become a human from the level of animals, we have to first get to the level that we can control these urges to get to to the level of being a constructive part of this human society. Okay, if somebody is actually unable to curb any of these senses, he's actually almost described as a madman or criminal. So excess of any of these urges, if somebody, let's say, you're going to you can't control the urge to eat, you're going to eat whatever is available, like animal. Like, oh, what is he doing? He's acting like an animal, right? If somebody's food is there, you're going and taking somebody else's food from their table. So you'll say, oh, yeah, he's acting like an animal. He's not even acting like a human being. So same way, if we have all these crimes, which are the sexual crimes which are committed, because again, same way, if somebody is unable to control their urge of sexual desire, then they commit crimes, which is again a extreme of not being able to control the urge of the genitals. So again, coming back to the fact that what I'm saying is these 6 urges need to be controlled to become a good human. And the level of control, if we have complete control of them, then one is called as a Goswami, and you have control of the 6 of the senses, and you're not a Godas anymore. And anybody who is able to control them significantly, he is able to, he can start preaching. He can, that's what the shloka says, that he is ready to make disciples everywhere, means he can preach because he's able to control the 6 urges. So that is important to understand. So our Vedic scriptures do not reject sex in terms that even Krishna says, I am. So Krishna in 7.11 shloka, which is knowledge about the absolute. So knowledge about Krishna, he is describing about himself, who is Krishna. He's saying, Balam balvatam chaham kamaraga vivarjitam dharma viruddho bhuteshu kamo asmi bharatar sabha. I am the strength of the strong, devoid of passion and desire. I am sex life, which is not contrary to religious principles, O Lord of the Bharatas, Arjuna. So here Krishna is describing that I am sex life, which is not not contrary to religious principles. Okay, so now let's talk about what is described as religious, based upon the religious principles versus not. So the use of the genitals, everything has the use in the body, right? The use of genitals is for procreation, and in human society it is for begetting Krishna conscious children. we already know from Srimad Bhagavatam that it is mentioned that one is not ready to become should not become a father, mother, guru. We discussed that even yesterday in the class. That's a shloka from Srimad Bhagavatam that talks about one should not become a father, mother, guru without being able to deliver your dependents or a husband. So again, for procreation, the same principle holds, that if we are procreating, then we need to beget Krishna conscious children or give them knowledge about how to get out of this material existence. Inside marriage also, so anything that is, so the custom of marriage is so that one can in a society live in a way which is not contrary to it is a way to curb the sexual desires, in which in a limited limited significant way you can procreate. Or ideal is that even inside marriage, based upon our principles, you should have some restriction there. At one level, there are certain days like Madhav Tithis or other days when you should not be indulging in sexual practices. Or even in or at an even higher level, it is said that sexual practices should only be performed for procreation of Krishna conscious children. So even Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj, in his discussion about nectar of instruction in Anuvritti, he has given two ways that for use of genital, they can be legal or illegal. Illegal is 5 types further. So let's talk about the legal one first, because we kind of already touched upon it. That is, within the confines of marriage, it is allowed, and especially even in that, for begetting Krishna conscious kids is the ideal practice, only for that. And that's why, there are Garbhodaya Sanskara and other special things which are before even that, because you're inviting. It is a very actually, it's a very big responsibility we are taking on, and as well as we are getting a chance to become a co-creator with God. It is described. So, begetting a child is a big responsibility, and just performing the action for a physical release is actually devaluating it, because we are so much bombarded in our surroundings with sexual suggestions through advertisements and other things, that it actually decreases the bond between the male and female in the sacred pact of marriage. That you are just, if you're performing sexual activity even with marriage, but not with the idea of begetting a child, then it's actually decreasing the intimacy and the value of the relationship. So that is why in our scriptures, it is said that we should only perform the act to beget children ideally. And then, as I was saying, in Anuvritti, we talked about legal, we discussed that one, and the illegal, which is again in 5 types. So the 5 types is that even thinking about somebody in the wrong way. So that's why in our culture, we are in ISKCON, we call other people who is not your spouse as mother, like Mataji. We call them Mataji. And the idea is the same. You consider any other woman who is not your wife as a mother. You condition, you think about them as somebody sacred. That's another soul, and that soul is not for you to enjoy. That person, that body is not for you to enjoy. So that is actually respecting the man or woman in any way, so whichever the opposite sex is. But in thinking, so the 5 types of illegal actions are by thinking, by planning. So first is, even in thinking it is wrong. Then planning, okay, how are you going to, let's say, go on a date or whatever, which is outside of marriage, anything like that is actually in our scriptures, that is wrong, because you're thinking, you're planning. I was just reference is with Navya, I was watching a kids program the other day, like, this like 10, 11, 12. They're at that age in that, serial, they're talking about the girls are thinking about, oh, that boy is so nice and this and that. Oh, so I was like, really? At this age, this is parental guidance kids program. And at this age, that 11-year-old girls are talking like this amongst themselves because, the culture has become like this. So it's not that they are only showing what is not there, but unfortunately, the culture has become like this. Our culture in Vedic culture was not like this. When you are a brahmachari, then you're supposed to control all the urges, and the brahmacharya ashram is to gain knowledge at that time. And then you get into grahastha ashram, and then within the confines of marriage, you are allowed certain things, but not otherwise. So the focus has become so different that it actually devalues the whole thought about it, that such a sacred practice of actually begetting a child has become devalued to just general activity. So thinking, planning, talking, so talking about it, and then of course doing, and then even artificial means is described as illegal. So all these 5 types are the illegal thoughts regarding use of genital: thinking, planning, talking, doing, or using artificial means. And if we are getting into them in either any of these, it gets us in the clutches of Maya. So Maya is easily able to grab hold. It is one of the most difficult. Actually, we said it's a short topic, but actually it's one of the most difficult urges to control, which is mentioned, and it is one of the so it is very difficult to. That's why, unfortunately, we see a lot of gurus or even other people who have fall downs because of this. Whereas in our sampradaya, given the levels of how you should control is shown directly by Krishna himself. In Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was a sannyasi, and he's in the most liberal form of giving Krishna prema to everybody. But still, he to maintain the conduct or to show the conduct of how one should behave as a sannyasi, he never even talked to females alone. So the conduct is, we should not be talking to a female other than your wife without a third person present, especially for a sannyasi, especially for sannyasis. So that is the conduct described. An example in this relationship comes, the story of Chota Haridas comes, which is, he was one of the disciples of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he looked at the woman in a wrong way, at a younger woman in the wrong way, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually immediately threw him out of his disciplic circle. So he was very strict about this. So it is not something to be taken lightly for a spiritual practitioner. It is very important that we go by the standards which have been set by our seniors. And I will just quote from Chaitanya Charitamrit, what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in this regard. For a sannyasi or anyone who is aspiring to get out of the clutches of material nature and trying to elevate himself to the spiritual nature and go back home, back to Godhead, for him, looking towards material possessions and women for sense gratification, not even enjoying them, but just looking toward them with such a propensity, is so condemned that he had better commit suicide before experiencing such illicit desires. So these are the processes for purification. So the suicide is not actually more than body. It is talked about as a spiritual suicide. Okay. So those are some thoughts that I wanted to share. Again, from the purport of Nectar of Instruction, there is again a discussion which is mentioned from Prem Vivarta by Sri Jagannath Pandit. We'll just mention that because Prabhupada has given that very nicely over here. वैरागी भई ग्राम्य कथा ना सुने बेकाने ग्राम्या वर्ता ना कहिबे या बे मिले बे आने स्वप्ने ओ नकारा भाई स्त्री संभाषणा गृहे स्त्री छड़िया भाई अशिया चवना यदि चाह प्राण रखिते गौरेंगे राशाने छोटा हरिदासेरा कथा ठाके ये न माने भला न करिबे अरा भला न परिबे हृदय ते राधा कृष्णा सर्वदा सेविबे. So this is in Bengali. This is a discussion where for the yogis it is being described in Premavarta by Sri Jagannath Pandit. He's saying, I'll quote, my dear brother. So this is what I just said in Bengali. This is the translation. My dear brother, you are in the renounced order of life and should not listen to talk about ordinary worldly things, nor should you talk about worldly things when you meet with others. Do not think of women even in dreams. You have accepted the renounced order of life with a vow that forbids you to associate with women. If you wish to associate with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you must always remember incident of Chota Haridas, which we just discussed, and how he was rejected by the Lord. Do not eat luxurious dishes or dress fine garments, but always remain humble and serve their lordship, Sri Radha Krishna, in your hearts of hearts. So before I conclude, I will also just like to mention that it is very important in this, we talked about body. So these three things come in the straight line, Jiva, Udar, and Upastha. So all these three come in straight line, and it starts off with the tongue. So it is described that even for controlling the sexual desires, if we are eating always prasad, that helps a lot. So so the more of prasad we can eat, the more easy it becomes to control the sexual desires. As Navya mentioned, eating meat, onion, garlic, those all put you in a mode of passion and ignorance. And that is why it becomes more difficult when we are indulging in meat eating or eating onion, garlic, and those things. It becomes more difficult to control any of the urges, but especially the urges of the body, because as I said, they come in same line and they are directly related. So what we eat is directly related with how our thoughts become, and mode of passion, ignorance, and again for controlling the urge of genitals. Another thing I've heard about controlling urge of genitals is regarding when we take darshan, concentrating, and I learned this recently in one of our discussions in Bhagavatam, that if we focus on the eyebrows of the Lord, on that is said that to control the urge, so that helps in controlling sexual desires if we focus on the eyebrows of the Lord. So Hare Krishna, I will end here.
Very bold. Thank you, Nagarjun Prabhu. Very nice, very extensive information. So yes, you're right. This is actually a very important topic, and Prabhupada keeps mentioning about this in almost every other purport. So sometimes when we are reading, we think, why does Prabhupada mention so much about this? So this is actually one of the, lust or sexual tendencies, sexual urges is hardest to control. And as you know, lust is like it leaves the strongest samskara on the body, on the subtle body. This is something that carries on life after life. So a couple years back, maybe last year, Amog Leela Prabhu was having this interview with a journalist who was discussing about live-in relationships and how they are okay in today's culture, today's modern age. And he was refuting that based on our scriptures, but the journalist was very so-called feminist, those who think they are feminist, that it is okay to live in culture. And Amog Leela Prabhu very soundly refuted her understanding that, bodily urges need to be controlled. And of all those urges, actually sexual urge needs to be controlled the most because it leaves the deepest impression. You all know that we carry samskaras forward, right? So the deepest samskara is made by the lust or the sexual urges. It's the hardest to control, most difficult to eradicate. And this is something that keeps carrying our body forward. So actually, one of the reasons why soul keeps getting the body again and again, because this impression has not gone away at all. So extramarital, premarital relationship, live-in relationships, they're all masturbation. All those are illicit relationships, illicit activities. And the worst type of sensual agitation, actually. Out of all the agitations, this is the worst type of sensual agitations. More than watching, eating. Of course, the Jamil's example comes just by watching an illicit activity. He came into the trap and lost all his other Brahmanical sanskaras. He forgot all that just by that one scene. It's the worst type of sensual agitation. So thank you, Nagarjun Prabhu. There's many things to discuss. I have offered before, if especially we have young girls in our group, if any more than this group, because this group is all, you know, everybody's very sound in their understanding and practices, but problem happens when you have to explain to other people, to newcomers, or when you have to uphold your literature or Prabhupada's purport. Sometimes when you're preaching, you should understand what's going on, why there are restrictions on this, why there are limitations with this, why our culture is not supporting some of the modern day, or especially living in America, we are not supporting the same type of mindset as other parents might. At 15 years of age, they are encouraging kids to, you know, go out on dates and things like that, and why we are not encouraging those. So those discrepancies, if you have any questions about, and those that are in older age group that are getting old, take it from me, again, as an OBGYN, I have special perspective on this. Both men and women, their bodies change in such a way that this becomes very, you will see that the body is not going to allow it for a long time. Body is not going to allow a sexual impulse for a long time. And the body has been designed by the creator in such a way that both men and women will go through, and then they have to get artificial things to help them, artificial arrangements to rejuvenate and refortify them. All of those things fail ultimately, but the way the body changes also supports the fact that we should be heading towards vanprastha and sannyas, meaning giving up the sexual gratification. So the body also changes in such a way. I don't want to go into any graphic details of this.
It reminds me about one of the Prabhupada's pastimes. Once a journalist came, and a journalist, American journalist, was asking Prabhupada that why is your head shaved? So Prabhupada, it's not easy to understand Prabhupada, but it's sometimes very funny way he used to, get the person was coming off forward very like a insulting kind of way. So Prabhupada said that why are your legs shaved?
Yeah, and I really like that point you mentioned about subtle to more gross regulative principles. We'll talk about it next time, because this whole verse deals with the regulative principles.
Yeah, but I'm going to just want to finish that thought.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So Prabhupada said that our heads should be cool and our legs should be warm. So you should cover your legs. It's okay to have an open head, but we see opposite thing nowadays. But that's what Prabhupada mentioned. Our legs should be covered. Heads can be open. That's okay.
Okay, anybody has any questions?
Mataji, just one realization. Like Prabhuji made a very good point that to control our urges, we got to look at the Lord's eyebrows. I always had that thought on the back of my mind that to look at his feet. Is it just to control the urges that we need to look at the eyebrows, so I'm just a little confused right there.
Mataji, we always start with the feet, and for us, for devotees, feet is our ashray. We have to take padashray. So that is one of the verses that is mentioned it in Bhagavatam. There are different deities also, that if you pray to certain deity, your particular anartha goes away. Like for ego, you pray to Sankarshan, like that. Those things we don't, they're okay to know, but yes, we always look at the feet of the Lord.
But we still take the full darshan, right? We
take the full darshan, yes.
Full darshan.
But it's not like you have to focus on the eyebrows because of this. It's not, it's we follow what sampradaya, what tradition has given us. There are many details in Bhagavatam that you just sort of understand as details, but may not be you may not be able to practice those, each and everything. Yeah. So we practice what has been widely approved and given to us.
Okay. Thank you so much. It was a wonderful class. Very good explanation of everything.
Thank you everyone for participating. Komal Mataji, Shobit Prabhu, Neelam Mataji. Yes, please share any questions, realization. We don't have too much time because we are running late. So we can, this verse may take 3 times. I thought maybe it could be done in 2, but I think next time is a long topic on Vacho Vegam and Krodha that we all deal with more than anything else.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, everyone, for the wonderful, understanding and and good topics discussed. So thank you. We are learning here. So thank you.
Haribol. Okay, we'll continue next time. Thank you everyone for joining. Mancha Kautarubhischa Kripa Sindhuvyeva Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namah.